Okay, now what I want to do is look at some examples of each pronoun. First example we come to is te veo en la calle. Te veo en la calle. I see you in the street. Te would be the direct object pronoun in this case. Notice that it closely follows the transitive part of the verb ver, which is to see. So te veo means I see, and then you, which is actually a direct object, because I'm directly transitioning from the subject onto the object. So in this case, yes, it is a person, but you can actually turn direct objects into people as well. They don't, remember, an object doesn't necessarily have to be an object. It can be a person as well. When we refer to things as objects, we're referring to them in the grammatical sense of the word. Next on our list, lo tengo aquí. Lo tengo aquí. Remember, lo is referring to a singular masculine noun. It's the pronoun, right? Remember, pronoun means a word that takes place of a noun. So it's the direct object pronoun for a singular masculine item, which is third person. Meanwhile, if the direct object was feminine, for example, if we had la computadora, we would use the feminine singular article, or the pronoun in this case, which is la, indicating it's singular and feminine. If we had several computers, we could say las computadoras, and the pronoun would be las. Las tengo aquí. The important thing to remember is it goes before the verb, so it's a little bit backwards from English. So pay close attention to that syntax. In the example I give here, we're using the noun la revista, which is a magazine, the magazine. So if I had the magazine here, I would say la tengo aquí. I have it here. The la referring to a singular feminine object. If it was plural, like I had many magazines, las tengo aquí. Las tengo aquí. I have them here. And here's a question that might come up amongst your travels throughout the Spanish-speaking world. Will you bring us to the airport? Nos lleva al aeropuerto. Nos lleva al aeropuerto. Notice us is the direct object here, and I'm referring to us in Spanish as nos. Remember nos in the verb chart. It is the first person plural, aka nosotros form, for direct objects and the pronouns. So nos lleva al aeropuerto. Will you bring us to the airport? Again, the pronoun comes before the verb. Okay, now we get to the second person plural, the vosotros form. I need to let you know right here that the vosotros form is not used in Western Hemisphere. For example, countries like Mexico, Guatemala, Peru, they do not speak with the vosotros form. It is frequently used in Spain, and it is a very formal way to address people, plural, second personality. So if I was talking to a group of people, I would use vosotros, never one-on-one. Although Juan Carlos, the King of Spain, he actually refers to his subjects, quote unquote, which are the citizens of Spain, as vosotros. Anyway, this sentence says, os llevo al aeropuerto. So this might be a taxi driver in Madrid trying to get his foreign tourists over to the airport. He would ask them, os llevo al aeropuerto, should I bring you, plural, you guys, so there'd be a few people sitting in the cab, should I bring you all to the airport? Os llevo al aeropuerto. Os llevo al aeropuerto. One thing you need to also know, in Spanish, there's a lot of different constructs in English how we phrase a question. When we say should I, or could I, or can I. In Spanish, all they do is use the same verb phrase, but they add question mark inflections. Or question inflections. They add question marks, obviously, but there's an inflection in their voice. So they'll say, os llevo al aeropuerto. We do the same thing, but in Spanish you can actually take the same written word for word and make it an indicative sentence. So if I just said os llevo al aeropuerto, that just means I'm bringing you all to the airport. Next example looks like we're going to use a third person example. So los compré ayer. I bought them yesterday. Take a few seconds and look at that sentence. Los compré ayer. I bought them yesterday. And think about a question that might come to your mind. You should have been asking yourself exactly what los was referring to, because remember, los is the third person plural direct object pronoun. Remember, that takes the place of a noun, and we know two things from this pronoun. We know that the pronoun is plural because it's los, and we also know that it's masculine. So therefore, we need to know what noun they're referring to. In this case, in parentheses, you see the noun los caballos, the horses. So the speaker is saying, los compré ayer, in answer probably to somebody's question about what did you do with the horses, or did you buy the horses? And the speaker would answer, sí, los compré ayer. So the person asking the question would ask, ¿compraste los caballos ayer? And you would answer, sí, los compré ayer. And the reason we're using a pronoun here is so we don't have to keep saying los caballos. It becomes understood at that point. Las cantaré. I will sing them. Okay, so sing what? What is las referring to? Well, it has to be plural and it has to be feminine. Remember, that's the third person plural direct object pronoun. Now, how do we know it's a direct object pronoun? That's a great question. Well, one, you'll never see a noun ending in an accented E as a plural feminine noun. Remember, if that was an article, then it would be referring to an actual noun, like, for example, las páginas, the pages, or las computadoras, the computers. But in this case, that's impossible, so we know we can deduce that it's a direct object pronoun because it's right before the conjugated verb. And here's where we find out exactly what las is referring to. Las cantaré, I will sing them, and we're referring to las canciones. Or, for example, las canciones de un cumpleaños o algo. Birthday songs. Now, as I said earlier, it's important to remember as well that the third person pronoun can also be a person or people. Just because we're calling them objects, we're not necessarily referring to them as objects, we're referring to them as grammatical objects. So we're also referring to people, or we can also refer to people if we use a third person pronoun. Let's look at some examples. El chofer lo lleva a su hotel. The driver brings him to his hotel. Notice lo, although it's also referring to an object as in el libro. Remember when we turn el libro into lo tengo aquí, I have it here. We're referring to actually a singular masculine object, and in this case it is a real live human being. El chofer lo lleva a su hotel. If the passenger was female, we could say el chofer la lleva a su hotel. El chofer la lleva a su hotel. Because we're referring to a singular feminine object, and the object in this case is a real live human being. We can take a large group of people as well and turn them into direct objects as well as direct object pronouns. Los aplaudimos. We applaud them. Los aplaudimos. Notice aplaudir, to applause, is conjugated as we applause because we're the subject, and the subject always conjugates the verb. So in this case, we applaud, and then we're directly transitioning to an object. That's what makes it a direct object. And the plural masculine object in this case would be los aplaudimos. If it was a bunch of females, yes, that's fine. We can say las aplaudimos. There's no problem with that. Although generally speaking, you can get away with just saying los if you're referring to a group of people. Notice my next example using a plural feminine direct object pronoun.